Hi Rebecca, hi Ian. Um, I'm making this video response to your Suffering in a Taker's Society in the Understandings group that you're doing together. Um, uh, I kind of wanted to comment on this because there seems to be some things that you're not really considering bringing into focus, and I thought I'd bring that to you. And there's also, of course, you probably very well may not consider that what I'm saying is valid for you. Um, and that's okay. I also did a little bit of research because I wasn't really familiar with the concept of takers versus leavers um, as a description of societies. So I did a little bit of search on the web. I don't have Ishmael handy, so I haven't really read that. I haven't read it at all. I've read nothing of it, although there are apparently some groups on the internet that are quite fond of it. Um, but one thing that I did want to say is that suffering, that awareness ameliorates suffering. Indirectly, yes, it does. When people, as much as they have both the sort of the angel and the devil side. I'm using those strictly metaphorically. I'm an atheist and I really don't believe in the supernatural at all. But they have the side of that has been represented by the angel and represented by the devil. People can be amazingly great. They can be fantastic, and they can also be incredible bastards. And I don't think that's too much of a surprise. Um, but the thing is that because people do have that side of them, even really kind of crappy people have that side of them, which has understanding. I mean, that's one of the reasons why something like Amnesty International works. I mean, you've got some person who's got their whole own country and their own way of doing things, and they've got bully boys to enforce their will. They've got everything in the world. But if people start paying attention to them and saying, no, this is wrong, you're imprisoning this person for no good reason, and we know about it and we're not happy, quite often they will do something to ameliorate that. They will back away from it because it was okay for them to do it, but it kind of wasn't okay for them to do it and to have the whole world know. you know Maybe it's ego, but I think it's also, I mean, they still had the power to do it. They still could do it. But when they realized that people knew, it sort of made it not worth it for them anymore. I don't know if that makes much sense. Um, but I think there is really, I mean, that they don't want to be seen as a bad person. Even when they're perfectly willing to do terrible things. It's kind of strange. Well, I suppose that's about as much as I need to say about that. So the awareness, but I mean, since people are often, I mean, if people don't have anything that much at stake, I think they're generally have a good heart. If they don't see it as being a threat to them to help, they'll often help. That's actually why I think a lot of people in big cities and stuff don't help, because they are afraid that they don't understand enough about the situation, that there's too many undercurrents that they don't know, and they don't want to help because they don't want to be endangered. And so they shy back, they pull back because they don't want to be involved. And it's not directly their problem. I mean, you actually have a much better chance if there's only one person there, and they know that there's only one person there that could help you. Like if you're on the side of the road and one person by themselves walks by on that road and there's nobody anywhere else, quite often that person will help you because there is nobody else and they know that. But the more diffuse the responsibility is, if there's 100 people watching, they'll all sit there and watch each other and say, well, should I help? Well, nobody else is helping. There's that whole group, I don't want to get involved. What else? I think part of the whole thing going back to taker and leaver cultures, it's really not quite as cut and dried as that either. If you go back to at least some of the North American cultures, uh, the Iroquois nation that was fairly populous around the Ontario and sort of the northern part of the states around Buffalo and sort of New York State, that they had pretty much a nation state. They had agriculture, and they were in the process of wiping out one of their rivals, which was the Huron Nation. When the Huron Nation was run into by explorers, Western explorers, there were very few of them left because the Iroquois had been systematically hunting them down. So, even if I'd say even if the Europeans had never touched North America, there would have been a culture of takers in charge, because there's that natural tendency. Takers accumulate resources, and they plan ahead, and they think think so many steps ahead of a leaver society, that when the two meet, the leaver is quite willing to sort of live and let live, and the taker sits there for a while, susses the situation, figures out, can I take this guy? Can I? Yeah, I can take him. So they do. And that pretty much always happens, unless the leaver society is really huge and the taker society is relatively very small. So you get people like, the first group of people over on the Mayflower, they don't try to take on the whole world. They sit there and they wait until they have a few more people with them. Basically because they do the math. They plan ahead, they think about it, and they feel very insecure if they realize that the other people could actually take them out. Even if the other people don't seem to have any particular inclination, they think ahead and they say, well, this leadership, this group, hey, they're okay with us. But what about next time? What about 20 years from now when somebody else new comes in? Maybe he won't feel the same way. Sustainable. What's sustainable on the earth? Well, part of that is how much of the earth's resources are actually there. There's the natural resources, but there's also the resources we create by changing the environment. We create resources. The technology, the thing that I'm talking to you right now, isn't possible unless you have a taker society. A taker society, because people that are just living close to the land and adapting to the way it is and all that sort of stuff, they're never going to accumulate this kind of resources to be able to invest to figure out things. They're too close to it. They will learn how to deal with their immediate environment, and they'll figure out a way to work it. But they're not the thing that we're talking with, the thing that allows us to communicate and to store our what we do have figured out, and to learn about all these different cultures, is because we've built up resources to do it. And that only would happen in what you're referring to as a taker society. It's not going to happen in a leaver society. It would never happen. Or it would take 10 times as long, 20 times as long, 100 times as long. However, it would take so many slow incremental steps that very rapidly any taker society, if you've got one taker society in the world will end up run by a taker society. So I kind of like the point you made earlier in a different video, where you basically said, well, we have to deal with where we are. We have to accept where we are and move on. And I think we have to accept that unless we discover an entirely different way to have a society, it's pretty much going to be takers. But people are awesome, so people will look for a way of making this less terrible, and there is a way that they get to contribute. Anyway, I guess I should wrap this up before it gets too insanely long. I might even have to shorten it. Anyway, I hope to hear from you, hope to hear from your responses, and you or if anybody else is watching, I'd be happy to hear, and maybe we can discuss this and inform each other and enlighten each other a little bit maybe. Anyway, thanks.